Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a real mathematical detective story about how we make decisions over time. If you've ever wondered how economists take our messy, unpredictable human desires and translate them into precise, solvable equations, well, you're absolutely in the right place. Let's get into it. So, think about this core dilemma we literally all face every single day, whether you realize you're doing the complex math or not. Buy the coffee right now or save that cash for a vacation next year. Your brain is constantly weighing current enjoyment against future security. Today, we're popping the hood to look at the exact mathematical engine that models this human behavior. We're going to build this decision-making machine step by step. First, the consumer's dilemma, then unifying utility and budget, bridging the time gap, mapping the optimal path, measuring price sensitivity, and finally, the ultimate insight. Section 1, the consumer's dilemma. What we want versus what we have. To start building our blueprints, we need to pin down exactly what intertemporal choice actually means for our economic hero. Basically, it's just the study of how we distribute our consumption across different periods of our lives. It isn't just about what to buy, but when to buy it. This dynamic brings up a fascinating dual reality. On one hand, we've got the complex psychology of our current utility versus our discounted future utility. And you know that little discount rate row representing our impatience? We naturally just value today more than tomorrow. But balanced against that desire is the unyielding physical limit of our fixed lifetime wealth. You obviously can't consume more than your total wealth. So the ultimate goal? Get the absolute most happiness possible out of that fixed pot of money. Section 2, unifying utility and budget, turning the piers. Now, we need a way to weld these two opposing forces together to find the perfect balance. Enter the Lagrangian method. It's kind of like our magical unifier. By combining our objective function with our budget constraint, we find the glue holding them together, the Lagrange multiplier, lambda. In economics, lambda is incredibly profound. It's the shadow price of wealth. It effectively tells us exactly how much our total utility would jump up if we magically found just one more dollar. You might be wondering, why build this massive equation in the first place? Well, by combining our utility function and budget constraint into a single equation, we can use partial derivatives to find the exact point where utility is maximized without exceeding wealth. We put everything into one line, essentially setting ourselves up to definitively find the absolute mathematical peak of the mountain. The actual derivation sequence breaks down into 3 mechanical steps that'll lead us straight to the optimality condition. Step 1, differentiate to get our first-order conditions. Step 2, eliminate the shadow price. And step 3, derive the Euler equation. Let's crank the gears. Right, so step 1 means finding where the rate of change is 0. We differentiate it with respect to consumption in period 1 and then period 2. Setting these to 0 proves that, at the optimum, the marginal utility in any period is exactly proportional to its price, scaled by that shadow price, lambda. In plain English, the last dollar you spend today absolutely must bring you the exact same amount of joy as the last dollar you spend tomorrow. Section 3, bridging the time gap, the Euler equation. With our first-order conditions set, this is where the magic really happens. By dividing our two equations, we neatly eliminate lambda. And what we get in return is the Euler equation. This is our bridge. It directly links future consumption to current consumption. And notice what dictates that relationship. It's based entirely on relative prices and time preference. Basically, it tells us that your optimal future consumption is just your current consumption scaled by how impatient you are and how prices shift over time. Section 4, mapping the optimal path, reviewing the engine's real-world specs. We've got the rules, so let's find the actual demand. By substituting our Euler bridge back into the lifetime budget constraint, we can factor out and isolate current consumption into this incredibly precise, entirely solvable fraction. Everything in this equation, your wealth, the prices, the parameters, are all known variables. Now, what's genuinely fascinating here is how this heavy algebra breaks down into 3 deeply human forces determining our optimal path. It's essentially a perfect map of human behavior translated into math. Let's actually pause for a second to really digest the psychology hidden in these variables. We have 3 main drivers. First, the wealth effect. Wealth dictates the scale, so consumption scales perfectly linearly with your total wealth. Second, the impatience factor. A higher discount rate shifts your consumption to period 1, essentially dictating timing. And third, the smoothing parameter. This dictates aggressive reallocation based on theta. It's your aversion to extreme fluctuations because, let's face it, nobody wants a massive feast today if it literally means a famine tomorrow. Section 5. Measuring price sensitivity, the stress test. Our machine is fully built, but now we gotta stress test it against real-world economic shocks. If today becomes relatively more expensive, exactly how much do we substitute away from it toward tomorrow? We know humans logically pivot to the cheaper time period, but we don't just want a vague direction. We want to calculate the precise elasticity. That's where elasticity comes in, represented by the Greek letter sigma. It measures exactly this responsiveness to changing relative prices. I know, the formula can look pretty intimidating with the partial derivatives and natural logs, but conceptually, it's just asking a simple question. For a 1% change in the price ratio between today and tomorrow, what is the exact percentage change in your consumption ratio? To solve this, we actually use a brilliant mathematical trick, the log linear transformation. By applying natural logarithms, all those awkward exponents drop right down into simple multipliers. This perfectly isolates the price ratio, setting us up for a really clean differentiation. And as we take the derivative, something genuinely beautiful happens. All the complex math, the time preferences, everything else, it just perfectly cancels out. It leaves us with a wonderfully simple and constant elasticity formula. The answer is simply 1 over theta. That massive derivation, the complex Lagrangian, the whole shebang, it literally all boils down to this single, incredibly elegant expression. Section 6. The ultimate insight. Predictable mechanics of choice. Let's pull all of this together. The ultimate takeaway is separating these parameters. While the discount rate, rho, tilts our baseline timing, making us naturally favor today or tomorrow, it's theta, our aversion to fluctuations, that entirely and permanently dictates our elasticity of substitution. Rho has zero impact on how you react to price changes. Theta is the sole driver of your economic agility across time. Knowing that our complex human desires boil down to this elegant, constant framework really makes you wonder, just how predictable are your financial choices? If an economist knows your theta, they essentially know exactly how you'll react to the next major shift in the economy. Pretty wild to think about, right? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I hope it completely changed the way you look at a simple budget constraint.